Hello, I'm Liam from Lazarus Personal Training. In this video, I'm going to look at the push-up, how we can scale the push-up, how we can progress the push-up, and asking the question, why do we need to push up? We are stuck at home, we're stuck in lockdown, as I'm sure you'll remember a couple of months ago when all this started, and the gym seemed like a place that we could all just go and enjoy instead of a distant memory. When all this started, there were push-up challenges, and pretty much they were the staple of every home workout, and still they very much hold a firm and solid place when it comes to home workouts. You will pretty much guarantee any beginner program having push-ups in them in some form. Here's the problem though, push-ups are hard. Push-ups are a difficult exercise, especially for people getting into fitness. So if you're new into the fitness world, if you're a females struggle with push-ups. It's just a natural thing that happens. If you've gone under any sort of shoulder operation, if you've got a shoulder injury, then push-ups are hard. So let's talk about why we want to do push-ups. Why are they a staple exercise? In terms of the workouts that people tend to provide, push-ups are a staple exercise because they're easy to do and they get people fatigued and gassed out pretty quickly. There aren't many push-ups that you can do, especially if you're coming into a beginner or an intermediate workout. At most you might be able to do 10, 20 push-ups. It's only unless you train to quite a specific amount that you'll go any higher than that. So that tends to be why they're programmed. But why do we need a push-up? I think push-ups are actually quite crucial for a lot of things. At a very, very baseline, if you need to get off the floor, you need some sort of push capability. Thanks, noise. At a fundamental baseline, if you need to get off the floor, you'll most likely need some sort of push ability. So if we're down on the ground, we turn over onto our stomach and then we push the floor away to come up. We need that mechanic to be strong. If we're then looking a little bit more advanced than that, if we're going into everyday life, if we're opening a door, that requires a push. And then if we go further into that, if we're looking at sports, most sports require some sort of shoulder flexion. It requires some sort of throw, whether we're playing football and we're going for a throw-in, or whether we're playing any sort of ball sports like a cricket, where if we're bowling, throwing, obviously we've got that mechanic coming through the shoulder. So a push-up can help develop that. But push-ups are often bastardized and done completely wrong. I have seen so much bad form when it comes to push-ups, and I am guilty of doing that. I am especially guilty of having poor push-ups. So I'm going to talk about what I think a good push-up looks like. So for me, I like to set up the push-up from the ground. The reason why is that you start off in the bottom position and you know if you can sit in that range of motion or not. If you can get onto the floor and put your hand comfortably on the ground, you can do a push-up to the ground and back up again. If you can't get into that position, then you can't get to that bottom point. So why risk it by being down in that position? Whereas what a lot of people do is they start from a top point, they come down, the head starts coming forward, they're like, oh my god, I can't go any further, oh my god, this is it, this is my range of motion, and they push back away again. That is rubbish. You're just putting your shoulder under a lot of pressure. You're not actually getting any work out of your muscle. You're just trying to lower your body and then bring it back up again. So starting from the ground, for me, is point number one that I would always go with. From there, you want to make sure that your hands are nice and spread. If you think about this as a shoulder and a hip mechanic and how they are similar, if we're looking at the floor and the foot wants to plant into the ground, and the hand is no different. So we want a nice spread hand position, and we want to make sure that arm position is in a comfortable place. All too often people bring their elbows up towards their ears and they're doing a push-up. The only thing that does is ruin your shoulder. I like to have about a 45-degree angle away from the body, so then I can push in a nice motion. The way that I relate it to people is, imagine you're about to push something. You've got a big heavy object in front of you and you need to push it away. Would you ever push anything like this? No. I mean, one, you look like an idiot, and two, that's not going to develop any power. You'd probably push from your side. So then, why do we not do push-ups like that? And then in terms of that push off the ground, we need to generate tension in the core. And again, this is where a lot of people go wrong, where they don't generate tension, they just push their arms away, the head comes off the ground, and then the hips come up afterwards. We need the entire body to be strong, so we're braced, we take a deep breath in, toes are planted into the ground, quads are tight, glutes are tight, core's tight, and then we push everything away as one. I like to almost slightly raise my hips up a little bit, so then when I'm doing a push-up, I'm in one straight line. And then on the way back down again, it's a slow controlled motion down, but often, especially if I'm going for reps, let's say we're doing a time-based push-up thing, I'll relax and I'll just relax down to the bottom and then push back up again. Now, if we're looking hypertrophy, if we're a dude and we want to build up a big chest, then we might end up adding a little bit more isometric stuff into there. But if we're using it as a conditioning tool, as something in a time scheme thing, as many reps as possible, I like to relax on the bottom of it. There's no point trying to fatigue out the muscle more than it already is. And here's a point about push-ups as well. They're often known as a chest exercise, but actually the push motion comes from the tricep. The elbow extension is all about tricep. What the chest does is stabilize up at the top. So as we're moving the arm, the chest works in keeping the arm in place. If the chest wasn't there, the elbow would fly out. So we can change that range of motion. We can get more of a stretch from it by bringing the elbow up. But overall, the chest acts as a stabilizer. If we want to build a big chest, we might need to look at something that stretches the pec more. So dumbbell flies or any sort of fly position is probably going to be a more beneficial way of building up a bigger chest. But for overall upper body strength, a push-up is fantastic. And then in terms of a rep scheme that I have been suggesting for people and that I follow myself, especially now that we're in a home workout scenario, I've been going 3 sets with as many reps as possible with 1 left in the tank. So basically, I'm performing push-ups up until I feel the point that my next rep is probably going to be poor. And then I'll hold that there, I'll record them, and then next time round, what I want to do is beat that total. So then I know I'm getting progressive overload in that movement. So rather than being like, I'm going to do 3 sets of 10, I might not be able to do 3 sets of 10. I might be only able to get out 5. So if I can only do 5, let's next time try and get 6. But likewise, if I put 3 sets of 10 down and I can do 20, well, I'm not giving myself the adequate amount of fatigue and the appropriate amount of muscular damage that comes into working the muscles. With that, 3 sets, as many reps as possible with 1 rep left in the tank, just allows us to build that progressive overload. Now, let's touch on if we can do a push-up, which is absolutely fine. Again, it's a really hard point to work on. I'm going to go through a couple of things that I like to use to help people be able to perform push-ups, especially if we're in a home environment and we don't have any equipment around us and we can just do push-ups. First point of call is I like to see if people can do the concentric only motion. Like I mentioned earlier, I want them to start from the floor. Can they get into that position? From there, big deep breath in and we push the world away. You would be surprised by the amount of times that I've been in a movement analysis with someone and we've got a push-up test and they go, I can't do push-ups, I can't even do 1, and then they bust out 7 because we use this technique. If we build up that range of motion and we build up that capacity to do a push away, it builds the confidence and it also builds that movement pattern, so then we can do more push-ups. If though they can't do that movement, we're going to work on the eccentric motion. We're going to start from the ground, we're going to bring his heels up towards his bum so we're on his knees. From there we're going to push away. With a shortened lever point, there isn't as much body to push up, it's easier to push up, but once we're onto his knees and his arms are fully locked out, we're going to drop his toes down and then push up so we're in the top of a push-up position. From there we're going to slowly lower down to the ground, and then once we're back down on the ground, heels come up, we push up, and then we put toes down, come back up to that top position, body's in one straight line, and we come back down again. Again, we are building proficiency in that movement. One of the reasons why I don't like push-ups from the knees is because it doesn't build up that full line position. It's not a head to heel position, it's a head to knee. We're not getting the full workout of it. I would much rather have someone train in that full position. And then something else we can use to build up some proficiency when it comes to a push-up are bands. A couple of different ways that we can use bands. In a home scenario, if you don't have anything to rig over your head, what you can do is put the band around the bicep and the tricep, around this mid-arm area. From there, that as it comes down, it's going to sit across your chest and it's going to act as almost like a slingshot out the bottom. You can buy a slingshot from Mark Bell if you want, but being completely honest, the resistance bands are cheaper and pretty much do exactly the same thing. So as we come down, it'll give us that little assistance to push back out again. Again, the bottom point of a push-up tends to be where people struggle, so it'll give us that assist out of it. Likewise, let's say you've got something that you can rig above your head. So if we're in a gym, we can use the squat rack, or if you're at home and you've got a pull-up bar, you can attach it to there. You can put a band around that, loop it around your body, and then again, it's working on a little bit of an assist. But whatever way we can do it, we're going to add some assistance, so when we're at the bottom, we are slightly lighter, and then when we come back up to the top, we again build up the proficiency of the movement. That's some scaled options. Let's have a look at some progressions. We've been doing push-ups, they're just getting a bit boring. We can do a decent amount of them and we need a bit more of a challenge. So an easy way to do this is to change the position of our body. So rather than being on the floor, we can elevate our feet up. We can put them on a chair or a little stool or just something that's going to bring us onto a slight incline. That is almost like if we were in the gym going from a flat dumbbell press to an incline press. Changes the position of the arm. It means that the shoulder's putting a little bit more tension, and it means that the arm is coming up overhead. The higher the arm is overhead, the weaker it gets. So with that, if we put it into a slightly different position, it's going to make that push-up harder. In the same way, if we go into an incline and the arm comes down, makes it slightly easier. My not so much issue with that, but the point to make on that is that it becomes a slightly different movement then, in the same way that a chest press and shoulder press are two different movements. They work at similar capacity, but if we're looking for chest development or something that brings in the chest a little bit more, as more we go into an incline, the less it becomes about the chest, and the more it becomes about the shoulders. What we could do though is incline our hands. So again, we could use a box, we could use two boxes and make that stretch down at the bottom a little bit bigger, so then we get more chest work out of it. And also, because we're going in a bigger range of motion, it means that we're creating more stretch through the tricep and it's becoming a stronger movement in terms of the bigger range of motion. Now, the problem with this is if you struggle with shoulder mobility, if you don't get into the best positions, an extra stretch might not be the best thing in the world. And then from there, another progression that I like to use, and it's probably my go-to, is using a red resistance band and looping it around the back. From there, we're adding extra resistance in that push-up position. It means that the movement itself is the same, but there is more resistance to it. And if you don't have a red band, you could put something on your back, you could put some books on your back, you could put some weights on your back if you had them. I mean, you could put a person on your back, but fair play if you're going to do that. But we can add some resistance to the top of us. So again, as we're pushing away, we've got that extra resistance. For me, that is where I would look to add progression. Unless you want to change the movement pattern itself, which is absolutely fine. There's no problem with that, especially if we're working out for hypertrophy reasons and for just generally enjoying working out. And that covers the push-up, a fundamental foundational movement that works on upper body strength and upper body power. Can often be done wrong, but actually there's ways that we can scale it and there's ways that we can progress it. My question for you is, do you call it a push-up or do you call it a press-up? And is there a difference? Who knows? If you've liked this video, give it a like, share it with someone that might be struggling with push-ups, and if you really like my content, subscribe down below. It massively helps. I've been Liam from Lazarus Personal Training, and I will see you next time.